Dawn rises over the Nile near Thebes' green banks, palm lines, desert plateau, glowing Egypt, waking where water meets sand. In a dim mud brick room, a narrator opens a blank papyrus by torchlight, not to write, but to measure a system. Hands unroll the papyrus on a low wooden table. Fibers catch the flicker. History starts here before ink, before names. Temple pylons loom at an avenue of sphinxes. Stone does not argue, it simply insists. A chisel taps sandstone dust, floating in sunbeams, work turning belief into architecture. Incense moves through a forest of columns. The hall breathes smoke, and authority learns to sound like ritual. Close to the offerings, the ember glows. Even silence becomes policy when everyone shares the same air. A square sail glides the Nile, no engine wake, only wind and water. The river carries more than cargo, it carries control. On a blank dot map, stones shift north along the river corridor. Power consolidates without a single written word. A desert fort watches a bend in the Nile, no battle, just urgency, gates, and the tightness of transition. A ceremonial axe rests on linen. A hand lifts it, then returns it. Authority displayed without violence. Thebes spreads beneath morning haze. Mud brick homes, distant pylons, smoke drifting upward, daily life under monumental shadow. In temple shade, the narrator raises blank papyrus slightly. Here, gods and states speak through stone. Ropes pull a monument upright, no cranes, only rhythm. The empire rises by muscle and agreement. Rope fibers bite into wood, hands tighten. Engineering becomes devotion when the stakes are permanent. Terrace temples cling to cliffs, geometry against rock. Ambition learns to look orderly. A sapling root ball is misted and cradled. Trade arrives as living things, fragile, valuable, watched. On a red seashore, ships take on bundles with incense, cloth. Distance turns into leverage. In a counting room, a scale steadies beside gold dust and blank papyrus. Wealth is measured, power is funded. Inside a granary, bins rise like walls. Food is not just survival, here food is government. Grain pours in a pale river, dust blooms, a hand tests kernels, policy made tactile. In artisans' lanes, plaster and pigments pass hand to hand. The state depends on quiet skill. Pigment grinds on stone, a brush tip darkens, memory begins as craft, not as truth. Along a tomb corridor, painted forms emerge, careful, controlled. The afterlife is designed by daylight and flame. At the threshold, the narrator gestures to the walls. In Egypt, even remembrance is manufactured. Linen strips are folded and smoothed, no body shown, only preparation. Reverence is often just meticulous work. A desert wadi opens toward rock-cut entrances. Royal eternity is carved into heat and stone. Mallet meets chisel, limestone flakes fall. Doors are made by patience, not proclamations. A ceremonial barge glides the Nile, orderly and calm. The court moves like a ritual, slow, expensive, intentional. Gold wire twists under small taps. Luxury is the soft voice of empire. At dusk in a palace courtyard, guards hold still by torchlight. Stability is staged before it is believed. Back on the dot map, stones separate. Unity stretches thin as papyrus, strong as habit. A planned city feels airy, sunlit, new. Sometimes a state tries to reboot its own soul. Sun shadows form a discant race on blank papyrus. Belief shifts, not with speeches, but with light. In a stark doorway, the narrator lowers the papyrus. A new center is declared unto the old world holds its breath. Later, sand gathers in empty corners, policy recedes, and the wind edits what certainty tried to fix. Hands place a small shrined figure into a niche, then cover it with linen. Restoration happens quietly, one gesture at a time. Columns rise again in a vast hall. The camera tilts up. The old order returns, taller, heavier, familiar. Papyrus fibers are pressed, wet, and lifted carefully. Administration begins as material made, stacked, stored. In a scribal hall, faces focus over blank surfaces. Bureaucracy is a mood before it is a record. At the doorway, the narrator taps the blank papyrus. Records build empires and they outlast the voices that made them. Two delegations face each other in warm light, exchanging sealed packets. Diplomacy is trust wrapped tight. Two seals press into soft clay on a blank tablet. Agreements settle into shape while the room stays calm. In a chariot workshop, leather harnesses and wheel spokes align. War begins long before battle inside the supply chain. Oil darkens a wooden hub, a strap switches. Preparation is violence postponed. Colossal seated statues command a cliff face. Stone propaganda speaks without needing to be read. A sculptor smooths a carved curve. Dust clings to the fingertip. Permanence is made by touch. At the base of the cliff temple, the narrator lifts blank papyrus like a receipt. Stone outlives decree. Inside, repeating pillars draw the eye forward. The building itself teaches obedience through scale. An oil lamp trembles. Soot kisses the ceiling. Time is counted here by smoke. By the river market, baskets of dates and pottery change hands. The empire is also barter, breath, and noise. A potter's fingers shape a bowl as it spins, wet clay shining. Daily life holds the whole structure up. In the fields, water is lifted into channels. Every green row is a decision made upstream. Between farmland and desert, the narrator gestures from soil to horizon. Empire begins with water and ends without it. At night, in a temple courtyard, torches burn small under stars. Cosmos and state align in the hush. Stars ripple in a stone basin. A fingertip touches once. Even faith has a surface tension. A desert caravan moves at dusk, bundles swaying. Trade is a long sentence written in footsteps. A leather pouch is sealed with cord and pressed twice. Value is protected by ritual, not by locks. From a doorway, a tomb chamber, glows objects stacked. Surfaces silent. Wealth gathers where the sun cannot follow. Gold leaf catches torchlight on hammered texture. Splendor is engineered to outlast the living. At the tomb entrance, wind lifts sand as the narrator closes the blank roll. Some chapters are sealed on purpose. Late in the story, strange shows in empty doorways and cracked mud brick. Scarcity appears in places before it reaches faces. A cracked jar spills a few grains. A hand cups them carefully. Pressure becomes personal in small amounts. On a far horizon, a smoke haze hangs beyond the marsh. Boats remain still. The airfields watched. By the river, the narrator scans the distance and steadies the papyrus. The Nile remains, even when rulers change. Sunrise returns, pylons in silhouette, birds over water. Legacy outlives crisis because stone waits. A blank papyrus rests on a stone ledge. Wind lifts one edge, then settles. History continues without needing ink. One long glide passes columns, statues, river, one palette, one motion. The civilization holds together by repetition. A weathered lotus carving fills the frame. Even decoration is a doctrine of endurance. In a colonnade at sunrise, the narrator gives a small nod. A peak is not a moment, it is a system. High above, the Nile bends toward wetlands, gold light spreading. A country shaped by one long argument with water. Reeds sway, sunlight breaks into glittering reflections. The smallest movements still belong to the river. At dusk, a temple silhouette holds steady as one torchline fades. The chapter closes without noise. Sand slides over a carved step edge, grains catching light. Time erases without anger. Dawn again. A sail crosses left to right on the Nile. Life continues quietly, relentlessly. A hand touches a braided wrist cord, then rests on the blank roll. Continuity is a feeling you can hold. Palm groves line an irrigation channel. The camera glides low above water. The empire's true boundary is moisture. A pottery cup foams slightly, condensation beads. It's set down with care. Ordinary days are the foundation. In a mud brick doorway, a family silhouette rests in warm light. The human scale of a state, briefly visible. An unmarked amulet lies on linen. Fingers close around it, then release. Belief is often private. At a temple gate in dawn light, one figure passes through while the camera stays outside. History continues beyond the frame. A torch flame goes out, a thin ribbon of smoke rises. Endings are quieter than beginnings. A final panorama holds Thebes, the Nile, and the desert in one balance. Civilization as a triangle of stone, water, and heat. At the riverbank, the narrator closes the blank roll and holds it to the chest, a thesis delivered without words. A sailboat dissolves into sun haze. The camera holds on glittering water. The ending breath lingers. Ripples mirror a temple silhouette at the waterline. Memory survives as reflection, not as text. In desert night, stars hang over a dark ridge. A faint temple outline emerges. Stone keeps its own time. A single grain of sand lands on papyrus fiber. The smallest weight still belongs to the whole story. Sunrise over the delta wetlands. Birds lift, water mirrors sky. The river opens outward, as it always has. Final aerial. The Nile ribbon fades into a bright horizon. Egypt, made by water and remembered by what it built.